Hi, and welcome to Noble Character Crafts. My name is Amy, and I'm coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, July 9th, 2021. This is a channel all about my crafty life, and today I have crocheting, knitting, and cross stitch to share with you all. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts, and you can get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. I will have links to the places that you can find me in the description box below, as well as the show notes for this episode. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you really enjoyed this episode. I am hosting a year-long make-along on Instagram, and it's called the Make 9 2021 MAL, for you to join in on the Make 9 challenge, where you choose 9 projects that you would like to make this year. Make a grid of those projects and post them to Instagram, and that is how you will initially enter the make-along. And then anytime that you post a picture of your progress or finished objects from that grid, that will also enter you to win a prize, which I draw periodically throughout the year. I have picked a few winners for today, and I have a few prizes here. So as I mentioned last time, I gave away a couple of prizes. I just use random number generator to help me select a number from the hashtag Make92021MAL, and then I count through all of the posts to try to find the winner. So it's kind of a hard way to find a winner, but that's the only way that I can think of to do it, that it's completely random. So anyway, today's winners, the first winner is Butterfly Bear 00. I don't know your actual name. It's not on your Instagram profile, but that is the username. And you will be winning this fun cake of yarn from Nomadic Yarns. This was one of the many prizes that one of the viewers, Joy, she sent over a huge box of wonderful prizes for me to give away, and this cake of yarn was included with that. This is called Birdie Bots Every Flavor Beans. It's on the Brit sock base, which is 80% superwash BFL and 20% nylon, and it's 400 yards to 100 grams. So I believe that it's self-striping, I'm pretty sure. So I hope that you really enjoy that. And you will also be getting an extra progress keeper. This is made by Lock and Lou, and I think this is also Harry Potter themed, but as I've mentioned before, I'm not familiar with Harry Potter, so I don't really know what it is exactly, but it looks like some kind of a bottle of potion or something like that. So you'll be getting that along with this yarn. So if you can please let me know your full name and mailing address. You can message me on Instagram or send me an email, and I will be so happy to get that off in the mail to you. And the second winner is EMMALIINE. I think that's how you pronounce your name. And her username is, well, I'm just going to put it down here because I'm not really sure how to say that. So congratulations to you as well. You're going to be winning another prize that Joy sent my way. This is a beautiful sock set from Maker's Haven, and this is especially special because Amber of Maker's Haven no longer dyes yarn. This is called Dobby's March Socks, and it's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon base, and you get 2 50-gram cake or hanks of yarn, and then 1 20-gram. So that's super fun. I think the idea is that you make mismatched socks. So I hope that you really enjoy that. Also, please contact me with your full name and mailing address. Congratulations to both of you. Thank you to everybody who has continued to join in the Make 9 2021 MAL. I hope that you all are enjoying your projects, and it's so fun to see all of the so many beautiful projects going into that, being posted with that hashtag. So it's so much fun to see all of the progress that everybody is making with their Make 9 boards. So thank you so much to everybody who has continued to join in that make along, and please don't hesitate to continue to join in. It's never too late to join if you haven't yet. So I would encourage you to do so if you would be interested. As always, I just want to make sure you all know you're not required to finish anything on your board. It's just a participatory make along, so it's just for the fun of it. So please don't hesitate to join in if you haven't yet. All right, I have a finished object to share with you all today. I'm so excited that I was able to finish this scrappy blanket that I was making. I was just completely obsessed with making it. I enjoyed the process of making this blanket so immensely. It was so much fun. So I'll have to stand up to show it to you all. Here it is. So it's a really good size. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I just really love how, scrappy it is, but I just think it's so much fun. I just love it. It was so much fun to make. So for this project, I followed a pattern by Stephanie of Crochet Instinct, and it is called the Spiral Illusion Square. The original pattern is intended to just be a small square that you join together, I think to make a poncho or something like that. But I wanted to just make a huge square using that pattern. I used up all but, I wrote down how much I have left. I was trying to use up as much of my Wool of the Andes worsted weight yarn that I had on hand, and I used all but 36 grams. So that was pretty good, and I had calculated that it took me about 40 grams to get around the circumference of the square, or the perimeter of the square. So I didn't have enough to do any more than what I did. So I'm really happy that I was able to use up so much of it, so much of what I had on hand. So what I did was I just took all of my Wool of the Andes. So Wool of the Andes is a Knit Picks yarn. It is 100% non-superwash Peruvian Highland wool and worsted weight. And I took all of my scraps that I had, I weighed them all, and then I put them in order from what I had least of to what I had the greatest amount of. And I just started with what I had the least of and worked my way up to what I had the most of. And I used the Russian join method to join the different colors when I needed to. You can see right here's an obvious change of color from the light purple to the brown or burnt orangey, I don't know what that's called, Merlot heather, but I'm not really sure how to describe it. It's kind of an orangey brown. Anyway, I just love using the Russian join method. I use it so often. It's just a great join method. It's really secure, and I don't see that it changes my tension very much. So I prefer that joining method. So that's how I joined my yarns. The neat thing about this pattern is that you're starting with this spiral in the middle, and then you're always using 4 different balls or skeins of yarn. At all times, you're always using 4 skeins of yarn, and you're just working in a spiral, which I had never done that method before, and it was just perfect for what I wanted and needed for this project. I did modify the pattern starting on row 5. I changed the clusters. You can see in the middle, I followed her original pattern. Right here, you can see that this is just a cluster of 2 double crochets in US terms, and then there's a chain 1 in between each cluster. And then you can see here with this fuchsia colored yarn, then it changes to 3 double crochets for each cluster. And I started doing that on row 5. I just started doing 3 double crochet clusters without a chain 1 in between each cluster, for the reason that I just like I like that it makes a more dense fabric with that stitch, and I'm so much more used to that stitch, so it was much more mindless for me to do that stitch. I found that when I was doing the 2 double crochet chain 1, I kept making a mistake with that because I'm not used to that stitch, and it would have been more open. There would have been more holes, I believe, in the finished product, and I like how the 3 double crochet clusters really make it more closed. I mean, there's still holes. You can still stick your fingers through it, but it's amazing how warm a granny square Afghan can be, even though it does have a lot of holes in it. It still is super warm. Well, I mean, especially with worsted weight, 100% wool yarn. So I am just so pleased with this. So I followed her pattern besides that modification, I followed her pattern, and I just continued to use up all of the yarn that I had. You can see here at the end, I had a lot of the Merlot heather and the bittersweet heather color, and so it ended up just being those two colors that were striping up together basically at the end. But I like how that kind of gives it a good border. So I was really happy about that. And then for the finishing, I followed her pattern for that as well. I had a total of 63 spaces on each edge, not counting the corners, when I was at my final row before I did the second to last row. So the last time that I did the 3 double crochet across clusters, does that make sense? I had 63 spaces in between each, on each edge. So then I started, that was when I started row 16 of her pattern. And then I worked 31 clusters of 3 double crochets on each edge. And then she has kind of a decrease way of finishing off that row, where you do a 1 half double crochet, 1 single crochet in the next space, and then a chain 1, and then a 1 single crochet and a slip stitch into the next space. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically I pretty much followed her pattern for row 16 and row 17, which are her finishing rows for the littler square, but I just modified it because I had more stitches. Anyway, I wanted to show one edge because it's really a lot easier to see. Oh good, here it is. It's easier to see how the edges square off. So you can see that is that the row I wanted to show you? No, this one. Okay, you can see right here, this is where this Merlot heather finished off. So here's the stitches that kind of reduce and kind of square off, which is in the middle of one of the edges. And I did that along each edge. So I crocheted as normal about halfway across, a little more than halfway across the edge here. And then I did that half double crochet, single crochet, slip stitch to finish off the edge. And then I just followed her pattern by doing a single crochet in the bittersweet heather around the entirety of the edging to finish it off. I love it when I get a nice square corner. That one's really good. To block this, I just threw it in my washing machine on a delicate cycle with cold water and just ran it in the regular washing machine, and then I laid it out on our king size bed here and just pinned down the corners and let it dry. We have a ceiling fan above our bed here, so it dried during the day. You know, I put it down first thing in the morning and it was dry in the afternoon. So that was great. That worked out really well. I used an H hook 5mm, and yeah, so I used a total of 1,423 grams to make this blanket. So that was satisfying to be able to use up all of these different yarns that I've had in my stash for so long, and it's just really great to have another handmade blanket we're just going to use this as a blanket for our family. I'll just have to be careful not to throw it in with the regular wash because it will felt if I put it in the regular wash, but I think I can keep an eye on it. Not only was this blanket so much fun to crochet, but it was just such a relaxing project to work on. It was so comforting, and I don't know, I just really loved it. And as I was crocheting it, we as a family were watching the Chosen series, and I just love that so much. So it just has those memories of watching that show with our family. If you haven't checked out The Chosen, I highly recommend it. It's a series going through the life of Jesus that has been put out. You can access it free on their app, which is free. It's called The Chosen. I'll link to it in the description box below if you haven't checked it out, because it's so well done. It's just a really, really cool reenactment of the life of Jesus, and it's neat. We love it. All of our kids are really enjoying watching it with us as well, and I highly recommend it. So since I finished one project, I cast on 2 more. So now I have 7 works in progress to show you all. The first one is in this beautiful project bag that I received in a swap with Mary Ann of Rock Islander. This is one of my projects from I made 2 Make 9 boards, one for my own personal projects and one for gift projects. And this is from my gift list. This is the Black Frost Shawl by Melanie Rice. And I am really enjoying working on this project. It is growing really beautifully, I think. This is a beautiful blackberry progress keeper. Well, actually, I bought it as a stitch marker, and I just added the clasp onto it to make it into a progress keeper. But the maker of this charm is called Million Dots. She's based out of Germany. And that's marking where I was last time I recorded an episode. So I was about halfway through a lace repeat, which starts here and ends here, I believe. And I need to do a total of 2 lace repeats plus a few extra rows. So I am really nearing the finish line for this. I am, let me see how many rows I have left. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 more rows to do before, then I think there's some kind of a special bind off. But, I'm still pretty close. I have been working on this every morning. This is the first thing I pick up. I like to do that. I always pick a project that I work on for about a half an hour, first thing in the morning. And this has been the project that I've been picking up lately. And I just do 2 rows. So right and a wrong side on this, which takes me, I think, about a half an hour. I don't really time myself, but anyway, I love how this lace is working up. It's really beautiful, isn't it? Such a beautiful design. The yarn that I'm using for this is a worsted weight, so that helps it to grow so quickly, of course. This is a yarn I got from Michaels. It's called Loops and Threads Impeccable, and it's in the classic gray colorway. It's 100% acrylic, so it'll make a great gift for somebody. I don't know who this is going to be gifted to. I'm just going to be adding this to my handmade gifts that I have on hand to give whenever the time arises for, whenever somebody might need a shawl. So I could use this as a prayer shawl. I have been praying for whoever this goes to as I've been knitting on it. So, I don't know if it will be just like a Christmas gift to somebody sometime or a prayer shawl for somebody that is going through a hard time or something like that to show them love and comfort. I don't know, but I'm just excited to be working on it and using up this yarn that I've had in my stash for about a year and a half. I bought it to make a blanket with it and it just didn't work out. So I have had it in my stash for a little while and I'm glad to be using it up. The needles I'm using are Chalgu red lace. That's what I use for all of my projects. And on the right side row, I am using a US 8 5mm needle. And then I have on my wrong side row for my purl stitches, a 7 4.5mm needle because my purl stitches are looser than my knit stitches. And so that is to try to get my tension to be even. So I have used up 2 skeins. This is what I have left of the second skein, so it's nearly used up. And they are 4.5 ounce skeins, or 127.5 grams, 285 yards each. And I've almost used up 2 and I have 2 more, so I'm sure I'll have plenty. I'll probably only need a little bit of that third one, I guess. Maybe about half of it, depending on, as I get to the end here, the rows are getting longer and longer, of course, so maybe what I have left will use up quite a bit of that third skein. But anyway, I'm sure I'll have plenty, so that's good. All right, my next work in progress is being held in this Japanese knot bag that my friend Tina made for me. And this is a pair of socks that I am making. I was motivated to start these. I haven't really done anything. I haven't even posted about these on Instagram, so I am not really joining in the make-along, but there is a Christmas in July make-along that a designer named Dana Ray is hosting on Instagram. And I saw a post from Anna of the Anna Knitter podcast. She had posted that she was going to be joining in that make-along, so I was motivated to join in as well. And I'm using some yarn that Anna had sent to me in a Christmas Advent swap that we did this last Christmas. So I'm so excited to be using up this beautiful Christmassy yarn that she had sent to me. And I'm knitting a pattern that is by the host of this make-along, Dana Ray. This is from her, she has a pattern that I bought that includes 3 different sock patterns. It is called the Textured Socks 3 Ways. And I am making this pattern right here, which is called the Stacked Circles pattern, I believe. Stacked Circles pattern, yes. And I have made a little bit of progress, not a ton, but a good amount. This beautiful row counter progress keeper is from Twill and Print. So that's really handy to keep on there. This is a 8-row repeat, this pattern, and so it's just really nice to keep that on there so that I can keep track of which row I'm on. It's a very, very simple pattern, very easily memorizable, but you do kind of need to keep track of which row you're on, of course. I cast on 64 stitches, 2x2 ribbing for 20 rows, and then went into the pattern. I'm knitting these 2 at a time on magic loop. As you can see, I'm using US 0.2mm needles. And they're going really well. I like my socks pretty long in the leg, so I'm probably going to knit to about here before I start the heels. I don't ever really measure that, I just do it until it looks long enough. The yarn is so much fun. I just love this yarn so much. It is a German yarn that you can only get in Germany, I believe. It is called Wollboot Christmas Wonderland. And this colorway is number 6642. It is fingering weight, 73% wool, 24% polyamide, and 3% polyester. And here it is in a cake. It comes in one big skein, but since I'm doing them 2 at a time, I wound one up into a cake. But anyway, you can see the beautiful, sparkly gold thread that runs through the entirety of the yarn. It's so much fun and kind of gives this striping pattern to it, so I'm enjoying them so much. I really love this yarn. So enjoyable to work on, and it's just so much more special that it was a gift from Anna, and you know, it's a very special yarn because it's hard to get here in the US, and it just makes it so special. So I'm really enjoying working on those. My next project I'll show is my cross stitch project. It's being held in this bag that I made. And I will insert a picture of where I was last time I showed this off. This is a pattern called Be a Light by Dimensions. And I have continued to work on this every morning as well. I wake up very early in the morning with my husband, and so I have quite a bit of time to work on some projects before my kids get up and get moving and starting for the day. So I have quite a bit of time in the morning to work on a few projects. So I work on this for about a half an hour in the morning as well, every morning. I've been working one strand of this comes as a kit with everything that you need. And I've just been using, these are so tangled, but I haven't had a problem too much yet. I probably will. But I just keep throwing this back in the bag and it's become a tangled mess. But anyway, I just grab one length of this thread and stitch that into the project each morning. So that's been working really well, and I'm really happy with the progress on this. I have all 3 jars done, so that's exciting. I'll show you a picture of what it looks like in the end if you haven't seen it before. So it's coming along, you know, I'm making pretty good progress. but I still have quite a bit of work to do as well. But it's really fun. I'm really still enjoying it so much. So I'm so happy with this project, and I'm glad that I'm enjoying cross stitch. I haven't done a ton of cross stitch in my life, so it's just fun to pick up a new craft. I'm not brand new to cross stitch, but I'm not experienced at all. I've only done a handful of projects, so it's just really fun to work on a different type of craft. So much fun. So this, like I said, is a kit. It comes with the Aida cloth, which is a 14 count Aida cloth, and all of the yarn and even a needle. I think I'm using the needle that was included with the kit. I'm pretty sure I am. So it's going well. It came with this hoop too, which I have a really hard time getting it to tighten. I've started using a, I'm so terrible at tools. Needle nose pliers, that's the word. I've been using a pair of pliers to tighten up this screw thingy because I can't ever get my fabric to be tight enough. And then I'm a little bit concerned because when I had it recently, you can see where I've had the ring, obviously, because I needed to work on this jar. So I needed to move my ring over, and it really kind of smashed these stitches down because I like my fabric to be tight in there. So I hope that's okay. Comment down below if you know if that's okay. I think I need to find out how I would finish this off when it's all done. I think maybe I could like steam it with an iron, maybe. I don't really know. I guess I'll find out. I'll try to do a little bit of research on how I can take care of this when it's all done to flatten it out and things like that. So we'll see. But I'm really enjoying working on it. So there it is. My next project is in this another bag that I made myself out of some bunch of scraps of fabric. This is a scrappy project. I am making the Jelly Roll blanket by Kay Jones of Bakery Bears. And I am at a standstill with this project because I've worked as much of the yarn that I have on hand into this project as I can for right now. I do have a few extra scraps of yarn, but I want to disperse the colors that I have a little bit, and the colors that I have left over I've already put into the blanket, and I don't want to repeat colors too frequently. So I want to wait until I have more yarn to add to this blanket. And I knew that was going to be the case, that I didn't have enough of yarn to add to this blanket to finish it by any means. I decided the original pattern is designed to use up fingering weight yarn, and I decided to use up DK weight scraps that I've had on hand. And so I just knew I didn't have enough DK weight scraps on hand to make an entire blanket, but I wanted to start one and have this be a long-term project that I will just continue to add my DK weight scraps to as I have them. So this design is so much fun, so easy, really an enjoyable project to work on. So it's made in strips, and last time I recorded I had done this first strip and I had started on the second strip, and here is a progress keeper marking where I was last time. This is just a progress keeper that I made out of probably an old earring or a pendant from a necklace that I had. I got that when I lived in Turkey. I know I got it when I lived in Turkey. It was one of my favorite pieces of jewelry that I got when I lived there. Anyway, so I've turned a lot of my jewelry into progress keepers because I get more use out of them as progress keepers than I do jewelry. Anyway, so I knit the second strip up to the end, and then I started a third strip, and I wasn't able to finish that one because, like I said, I want to disperse the yarn, and right now I have quite a bit of this color of yarn, a few more cakes of this yarn, tiny bits, and I have more black. I also have more plain, bare yarn, but I want to like I said, disperse the colors a little bit. And I had already used that one in this row, and anyway, I just want to kind of disperse the colors a little bit better. So I have these stitches on hold here. They're just being held on one of the DPNs that I'm using to stitch this blanket together. And I am using, these are ChiaoGoo DPNs, and they are size 4, 3.5 millimeter needles. And I did start a 4th row, but I only have this little bit done. And this yarn is pretty much used up. There's just this little bit of the tail left. So I really don't have any more to add to this blanket at this point. And when I started this project, I mentioned that on my last episode, I mentioned that I have my 2 hand spun cakes of yarn that are left over from a few projects. I did not hand spin them myself. I bought them from Slothy Creations, and I've decided to save those for a sweater project that I would like to make down the road. And then hopefully I'll still have a few little scraps left over from those hand spuns. I have them within reach. Let's see. Here they are. I'm going to add these to the yoke of a sweater, and then hopefully I'll have a little bit left over to add to this blanket at some point down the road, but we'll see whenever I get to that project. But I think that's all I have to say for this. Oh, since I am using a thicker weight of yarn, I cast on less stitches for each column. Oh, there's something else I want to mention too. I cast on 16 stitches, which is less than what Kay has in her pattern, since I'm using DK white yarn instead of fingering weight yarn. And I also wanted to mention that I am planning to have the orientation of this blanket go horizontally instead of vertically. The original pattern has you knit the length of the blanket so that the columns run up and down, but I'm going to orientate my blanket so that this is the width of it, and the columns will run horizontally instead. So, also, she has a really nice tutorial that shows you how to join the yarn, and her joins are really nice and neat, and she gives you tips on how to make your joins really nice and neat. I feel like I'm kind of not doing her pattern justice because I feel like my slip stitch joining method here is pretty sloppy looking. If I kind of pull on my stitches like this, they kind of even out a little bit better, and maybe with blocking it'll really help it to look a little bit more tidy, but I really don't mind because it's a scrappy blanket and it's just mismatched hodgepodge, you know. I was kind of a little bit, I was like, oh no, I don't want these seams to match up too well. I want them to be, you know, staggered, but I couldn't, you know, I was just using up the yarn until it ran out. So it just is what it is. Both of these seams matched up pretty closely right here, but that's okay. Anyway, I'm not trying to be too bothered about my stitches that are not nearly as neat and tidy as Kay's are in her original pattern, but it's okay. All right, move along. I've got so many projects to share. My next work in progress is being held in this Me Made bag. I made one of these from my last shop update for myself because I just really love this fabric. I'm making a pair of socks for my daughter. Well, I'm attempting to. I don't think they're turning out very well again. So these are the Spiral Socks, which is a pattern by, I'm not going to try to pronounce the name because I just don't know how to say it. I'll just put it down below. This is a free pattern, and the idea is that you're working a spiral sock and then you do not include a heel so that the socks will grow with the child. You can make them in adult sizes as well, but my idea was to make these for my daughter, inspired by Emma of the Powder and Bloom podcast, as she made a pair of these socks for her daughter. And so I'm making these for my daughter, and they're turning out too big, I think. I am making the smallest adult size, I think, because the kid size, I just thought, you know, my idea here is that they're going to grow with her, and the largest adult size would fit her feet right now. And I thought I'm going to go up to the smallest adult size, which is one size up from what I should be making for her. And but I can fit my foot into these. I mean, they're not very big yet, but I mean, they're not very long yet, but they're pretty big. They're almost kind of loose on my feet, which is really kind of frustrating because I did not enjoy, well, last time I showed these, I showed you the toes that I needed to rip out. I had started with, she includes 2 different types of toe construction in the pattern. One is called a star toe and one is called a flat toe. I started with the star toe. It did not work out for me. I was getting lots of big holes with the increases that I was doing. So instead I tried the flat toe. That worked out a lot better, but it's still really fiddly. I just don't enjoy doing toe up socks as well. And anyway, I could rip back and just, you know, rip back until I wouldn't have to start all over. I could just rip back until I have fewer stitches on the needles, which I guess I probably will do because these are going to turn out way too big, I think. Anyway, I should probably also have been knitting these on size 0 needles instead of US 1s. I'm using US 1 2.25 millimeter needles right now, and probably I should have gone down to 0s with these as well, but I don't have another pair of 0 needles on hand. Anyway, the yarn I'm using is my own hand-dyed yarn on a 75-25 base. This was my colorway Gaze that I used to sell. And then I'm now working into the self-striping Knit Picks Felici yarn in the Goth Kitty colorway. My daughter picked out this yarn from my stash, so, and she asked me to make her a pair of socks specifically, so I really want to make these for her, but I don't want them to be too huge, so I think I need to rip these back again, but not all the way. We'll see. I hate ripping back. I hate it so much. It's so nerve-wracking, even in socks. I just don't like it at all. It makes me feel uneasy. Anyway, that's those. Okay, I have 2 more projects that are new projects, and I'm so excited about this project. It's being held in this huge basket that my friend Tina gave to me. And this is another project from my Make 9 2021 gift list. I was thinking there was something else. No, but this is oh, it's my next project. I know. Okay, so this is another project from my Make 9 2021 gift list. This is it's a corner to corner crochet blanket, which is the first time that I've ever done this method. It is called the Stacked Triangles blanket, and it's by Living the Craft Life. It's a free pattern. Well, she has a free pattern on her blog that shows the chart, which I do need to grab because I need to explain something using the chart. So I think it's okay to show you the chart because it's free on her blog. But then you can also buy a written out pattern on her Etsy shop, which I did because that made it so much more easy to follow the pattern, especially since this was the first time that I've ever done a corner to corner blanket. In her blog, she has links to YouTube tutorials showing you how to do this method. So I watched those to learn how to do it. And here is my progress already. This reminds me of the Spiral Illusion blanket that I just finished, in that it is so addictive and enjoyable, and I've just enjoyed working on it so incredibly, so much. So anyway, now it is a little bit fiddly because this, like the Spiral Illusion blanket, you have to have several skeins of yarn attached to your work at one time. I forget how many I have right now, but like 8 or 9 maybe. Anyway, but it's really so much fun. So if you have not worked a corner to corner pattern before, I started down here in this corner, and you just continue to increase, and you're working like diagonally like this, up and back again. So I guess I can kind of try to explain. Right now, I worked this gray strip until here, and then I drop the gray yarn and start working with this green, drop the green, work into the teal color, drop the teal, work into light blue, and then gray, and then I just have started another light blue and gray section here, so I have separate skeins of yarn attached to these two little bits at the end as well. So anyway, the yarn that I'm using is Knit Picks Brava worsted weight, and I'm so pleased with this yarn. It's really a nice quality acrylic yarn. Again, this is going to be a baby blanket. I don't think I mentioned that. It's going to be a baby blanket size. I'm not really sure if the original pattern intends for it to be a baby blanket size or not, but I want it to be a baby blanket size. Anyway, it is 100% premium acrylic, and it's just really a nice quality. It's not hard, it's really soft, and I really like it for an acrylic yarn. The colors I'm using, this light blue is Clarity, and then I'm using Cobblestone Heather, Tidepool, and my favorite is the Avocado. I love that green. It's so beautiful, I think. And I'm really happy with the color combination that I chose. I think it's going to be, general neutral to go for either a boy or a girl baby. And I think the colors are just really nice together. I'm using an I 5.5 millimeter hook, and I have decided to shorten or shrink the pattern a little bit. So on the chart here, I am to the point now, so I started in this corner, and I am right now starting with this little gray dot at the bottom, and I've worked up across like this. And I am going to cut off the pattern so that I'm not going to make it any wider than it is right now, because I think that this is a good width for a baby blanket. In fact, it's pretty wide already for a baby blanket, but I measured it and I think it's 39 inches across, I think. So anyway, I'm going to basically just be cutting off these triangles in half so that they'll mirror these half triangles. And then I'm also going to cut off the length at the top here. So I will only have 2, 3, 4, 5 of the upright triangles. Well, 5 of triangles stacked on top of each other instead of 6. So you can see I've just changed. I used the gray as she did, and then I'm using the light blue for the white. I'm using the teal for the black, and I'm using the avocado green color instead of this bright yellow color. So yeah, it's just so much fun. I am enjoying it so much. I really wasn't sure if I would like this method of crocheting a blanket, but it really is so enjoyable. My last work in progress is being held in this beautiful butterfly bag that I received from Trisha of Joy in the Stitches. And in here is another project from my Make 9 2021 gift list. This is another free pattern by Lion brand. It's called the Lullaby Layette, and it comes with a cardigan, a hat, booties, and a blanket. They're all included in the pattern, and they all have the same beautiful lacy pattern. This is the cardigan that I am making, and it is knit in pieces from the bottom up. I am making the smallest size, but I did not do a gauge swatch, and I'm using the recommended needles, so it's probably turning out a little bit bigger because I knit pretty loosely. So the smallest size is 3 to 6 months, so I'm thinking probably this will be a 6 to 9 month, I'm guessing. I'm not really sure. I haven't measured my gauge, as I said, so I don't know. I'm just making it to make it. I am using up some more stash yarn left over from another blanket that I made, and I have this enormous skein of yarn. I made a baby blanket, and I was using this yarn for that baby blanket, and I needed to buy another ball as I was just trying to finish up that blanket, so I really didn't use very much of this. I had so much of it left over. This is Bernat Baby Sport, and it is a DK weight. That's what it's listed as, a number 3. And it is 100% acrylic as well, and it's in the white color. So I'm trying to just use up this huge thing, and of course it will be great for a baby sweater to be completely washable. So I have knit the back piece to the point where I have these stitches on hold, and now I am working on, I think, the left front piece. So that's where that's coming out. I can't show off the, oh there, that's, I guess you can, I thought it would blow out too much if I brought it closer to the camera. It's kind of hard to see with the white yarn, but it's a really pretty and easy lace pattern. It's really enjoyable to work. It's only a 4-row repeat, but I just think that the lace pattern that it makes is so pretty. So the needles that I'm using for the ribbing, I used US 4 3.5 millimeter needles, and then for the main body I'm using US 6 4 millimeters for the knit side, the right side stitches. And again, I went down for my purl side stitches. I went to a US 5 3.75 millimeter needle for the purl side stitches. So I did make that adjustment just so that my tension would be even, but I'm sure I'm making a bigger set. I'm sure my gauge is a little bit looser than what the pattern calls for. But this has been a really fun project, and it's small and working up quickly, so it's enjoyable. Oh, I think that's just such a pretty pattern. It's so delicate looking, I guess. I'm enjoying that one a lot. That is all I have to share with you all today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please feel free to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I would appreciate that so much. I hope you all are doing well. Take care. Bye-bye.